on the importance of making that really strong transition from, losing their teeth, losing that confidence, losing their bite abilities, by showing them how we can really kind of move them forward throughout the 12 months of healing, and then we can do a final denture at the end, has really created a very large success within our practices. Patient acceptance has been huge. It's been 100% as far as for the last year and a half now, since all the resins have been approved and since we've been doing this. So when it comes to this workflow, I really, really strongly stand by it, because it provides our patients the opportunity to see the gradual steps that we're going to make. Tissue conditioners are great at times. I personally hate them. I can't stand them. I think they're disgusting. And the dentures can't shrink with the gums. So our job as dental providers is to make those patients feel as easy as possible going into this. The classic comparison: you cut your arm off, you stick a wooden peg in there, and they'll try to operate like it normally would. It's going to make it a lot more difficult. With this workflow, we're now able to guide them and slowly get them to that point where they're going to be into the precision, or the bionic arm, as I like to say, or tell patients, and then they're much easier to train, to educate, and the acceptance is through the roof. So to get started with our software hardwares, exocad and 3Shape are the only ones that I know of that are doing the VITA Bionic library. I started with exocad. It's a great program. I usually mostly use the full denture. I know a lot of people hate the full denture and they'll go workarounds. I find the full denture hasn't given me too many issues as far as being able to get to the desired results that we want. 3Shape is fantastic. They've come a long way. Every year they seem to be getting better. Every month they seem to be getting better. I've been keeping close tabs with my friend Esther and Carson, and seeing what they're doing out there as far as 3Shape, and I'm quite impressed. So in the new year, we'll be transitioning into 3Shape as well. You're going to need a desktop scanner. I use the Degree of Freedom desktop scanners. I have a HD and an Edge. The Edge is a little swing arm guy, and both fantastic with great support, no issues whatsoever. They've been fantastic products for us. No issues. 2 years, they scan all day long, and haven't had a single issue with them. To touch base on the 3Shape, their products are nice. I'm not gonna lie, I really like their products. That E4 Redline series scanner that they have coming out right now, or that's came out right now, is quite impressive. So I got my eye on that as well too. Intraoral scanners, I've heard nothing but great things from Luke out in Cochrane about the Medit. He's doing some really cool things with this scanner. Very impressed with it. The quality is great. The price is great. And I think it's a fantastic scanner. Intraoral scanner, if you're gonna go that way, go into that. Trios, hands down, probably the biggest one through Dentures throughout Canada. Great support, great scanner, can do many things with it. And then right here at the bottom there, we have our Prime Scan. Now, I don't have the Prime Scan. I've demoed it for about 4 weeks. I absolutely love this scanner. It's absolutely incredible. It's one of my favorite that I've used. The scans are amazing. However, it is very pricey. So if you're going to go into something more like a heavy implant, all on X situation type clinics, this would probably be those intraoral scanners would probably be perfect for you. And of course, while we're all here, we chose the Sega Max, the UV. It is an absolute workhorse of a printer. It does not stop in our office. It just keeps going and going. Since early 2018, since we've had it, no issues whatsoever. The support's fantastic with Swiss. Sega is always coming out with updates. So when we have this printer, it also is kind of a tool to show our patients, hey, this is what we're doing. And it seems to really blow away a lot of patients because they just can't get over that we can 3D print dentures now. As far as milling, a lot of people are familiar with that when it comes to milling, but when it comes to 3D printing, patients are actually blown away. So we have this in a digital room on the other side between our two operatories in one of our clinics. So when patients walk by, they see that it's actually working and running. They'll see someone designing on it, whether it's my partner and brother, Britton, whether it's our associate, Alexa. So it kind of gives them that interaction that, you can talk as much as you want, but you want to be able to show them, and it works fantastic. The benefits of 3D printed temps, hands down, less lab time. We're not having technicians per process all day long. Conventionally or IVO based is what we're pretty heavy at our clinics. So you're allowed to focus your lab technicians or yourself into doing other tasks. For us, it's chair time. We run 2 full service busy clinics, so the more time we're in our chairs, the more time we're making money. And our lab techs in the background, instead of trimming and polishing dentures all day long, we can really pound out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 relines a day, and have them just work on those without reflecting on the back end as well too.
Absolutely. That's a lot of the feedback that I get too. Once you get into it, you realize just how much of a business driving opportunity there is. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other big thing about printing is it's relatively very, very inexpensive. We can print 4 or 5 bases off for anywhere between $23 to $29, and within an hour and 45 to 2 hours and 15 minutes, depending on the microns that you go on. So we're not holding up that back bench. So that back bench is freed up for everything, and I just plug it, play it, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Also, I find with printed temps, they're far less adjustments when it comes to the fit right off the bat, compared to like a conventional or injected dentures. Mill dentures, as there's no burr head trying to compensate. So sometimes with that mill, you can't get underneath that undercut to get to it. With the printer, it gets under that undercut, which can be kind of problematic at sometimes, especially when it comes to immediates. However, I find that it's far less chair time and time wasted by adjusting. Very easy to correct any issues. This is the most important part of it. We all have bites off. If you don't, kudos to you. But sometimes there's too much bone that's been taken off, too much buccal plate's been fractured or something like that. So everything kind of shifts and moves. So it's very easy to correct a bite, correct the freeway space, and correct aesthetics. And you can really kind of turn around and really correct that within an hour and have it printed out and out the door by that afternoon. So instead of having to correct a bite that's right off the start, and processing that and resetting it and retaking it, all that, it's very, very simple to, within 15 minutes, be on that scanner and already taking and designing again and get everything going again. One thing that I like about it, no more fingertips being removed from tight interocclusal spaces. This is my number one thing. I hate grinding teeth. I can't stand it. Like you all, I have no fingertips left. I'm sure we could all rob banks and get away with it.
That's right.
But this is kind of another reason why I've kind of got out of it. I hate looking on the floor for that tooth that spun out of the Red Wing lathe and then looking around for it. And then once again, back to it's easy and inexpensive to print a backup for patients if need be. This one has been a huge one for us in our offices. A lot of patients are worried that if something breaks, whether they're on vacation, whether they're traveling through the summer, whether they're just at home and they can't get in. So you can print a backup denture for a patient for relatively inexpensive. And the patient has that satisfaction. Hey, we're still able to, do what we want to do on a daily basis. And the final thing is no more disgusting tissue conditioners. I hate these things so much. I've always hated them. I don't like working on them. I don't
think there's anybody who likes.
No, they're the most disgusting things ever. And for the cost and time that it takes you to do a tissue conditioner, you can already have, a denture base printed off and good to go. And for a lot less too, and not taking up more chair time. So that once again, it always goes back to our chair time. When we run busy clinics, we want to make sure that we're always pushing those chairs and making sure that we're making some money and patients are being seen.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So this brings me to the VITA Workflow. Now, this workflow was kind of the main reason why we kind of went into digital dentures. At that time, 2018, some of the pucks for the bridges and teeth weren't there, in my opinion. Now, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are cases where you can use an enamic, a VITA enamic puck and mill out that arch and have that longevity. There are multi-layers pucks from other companies that are able to possibly last longer. I've had friends tell me and colleagues tell me they've blown out pucks or blown out an arch within 12 to 16 months, especially in like implant cases where that bite force is much greater. So our objective and our focus was to be able to bring a high-end product to our patients still. And VITA Excel teeth have been in our library for years now. We've used VITA pretty heavy in our clinics. Confident in the product, confident in the company. So for us, we want to be able to mill, print a base, and then pluck and play, for lack of a better term, an Excel tooth and a premium tooth too. Something that's going to give our patients longevity. Here in Saskatchewan, I can tell you right now, unless you're like a social service patient or NHIB patient, they tend to want that 8 to 10 year range. We call in for recalls all the time at 5 years. 5 years, tell you the truth, most patients aren't going for it. So for us, we're able to offer this treatment to our patients, giving them that high-end aesthetic look, but have that quality wear as well too, and that the beautiful aesthetics of it as well too. VITA Excel, when it comes to exocad, does come into with blister packs here. I think Bonita has some to show you. They come in individually, so they don't move it around. It can be a little bit of a pain to, just like anything that's so tiny, to set in there. So when I do set these in there, I tend to just kind of put them on a little sticky wax and then be able to pluck it off there and then pluck it in play. With exocad, I'm not too sure with Reshape. I'd imagine it's exactly the same with Reshape. You can do complete upper, complete lowers, complete uppers to singles, and complete lowers to singles as well too, as shown there in the right there. So you do have some options. It's not just full upper, full lower standards. You're able to really kind of get a full depth of it. Eventually, I'd imagine partials and things like that would be in there, provided that we don't have to morph any of the teeth, which I don't think VITA will ever do, because we need to put those teeth into that base. Yeah. And it's very, very easy to assemble post-cam. So the cleanup is fantastic. I really do like this workflow of the VITA Bionic finishing product. So we'll get into that a little bit later, and I'll show you why, compared to some other companies that I've worked with as well too, or not worked with, but have done product testing as well too. This one's quite simple, and the adhesive is very, very nice. So when we get into exocad Reshape options, we have these options here. So everything pops up right on the workflow here, what type of teeth you want to use. And we have a crossbite, we have Dr. Gerber's, lingualize, and buckle. So we have 4 occlusal schemes that we can use interchangeably, and this is amazing. And this is where I really, really do love the VITA workflow, because when you put that in the mouth and insert that in the mouth, it's very, very minimal, if any, that I have to do interocclusal or occlusal adjustments at all. They've created such a great product where it comes and flows so well. Have you bonded it properly and have done everything well, it's gonna work great. So you're not going in there and you're not going to be able to sit in there and grind away for an hour and then close the surface tray to bite in, because with how they've created this workflow, it's worked very, very well. As far as soon as you insert it, patient's usually off to the races and good to go. Adjustment time is minimal, maybe 1 adjustment if that. Most of our 48-hour aftercare appointments are canceled because of this. It is that perfect, and I'm a heavy lingualized guy, so it is that perfect lingualized occlusion. If anyone's taken Mark Wagensdale's course, you'll know why it works so well, and I'm a firm believer in that too. We also have our tooth molds, and these are all Excel molds. There's nothing else. It's the Excel, so it is the high-end tooth. You still have that nice high-end premium quality from those blister packs, and compared to the card, they're exactly the same tooth, except for the basal surface is reduced. That's the only difference. So you have a bunch of molds as well too to choose from, so usually you can find one pretty quickly. Also, when you use exocad as well too, sometimes it'll tell you use a bigger shade or bigger size or smaller size. You can go by that for sure. I find that it works well in certain cases, some cases not so much, but it is a good helpful tool. So we have 4 great occlusal setup schemes. We have 8 upper anterior molds, 4 lower anterior molds, and then for our gaps, when we do everything, it's a 20 micron tooth socket gap or pocket gap. So it's an airtight finish. So you're not kind of moving that tooth around in a bigger socket and eluding it with with like a CAD bond or with like with a cold cure acrylic, it's a product that's quite easy to finish and quite easy to wipe away. You won't even know that you have it on your denture. ExoCAD. So this is 10-minute create mockup. This is where I want to kind of get into touch base with a little bit of ExoCAD and 3Shape. ExoCAD, in my opinion, needs a lot of work on the initial proposal of a wax up. As you can see, this is not pretty at all by any means, but it is an easy workflow to get to this point. The difference is with this compared to with 3Shape or InLab, the proposal is skewed. So I do find myself in ExoCAD spending a lot more time on the wax up design, because you want that perfect collar height so that when that tooth snaps into that pocket, we're not having just like a little bit of wax and then have a tooth touch right to it. We're having a nice gingival roll over top that tooth, and that Vigo blister pack tooth pops in really nicely. So this is my biggest issue with ExoCAD. The wax up part of it needs a lot of work, and like I said, as you can see, it's kind of frustrating. However, I wanted to point out on this the crossbite. The crossbite in here is perfect. I've done a few crossbite setups with the Vigo system, and I've had no issues, no adjustments with them. Once again, going back to that perfect occlusal scheme, and really them, fine tuning and honing it in has created a much easier transition for all our patients, especially with immediates. Because with immediates, as we all know, sometimes it's very difficult to get used to for the patient. And if you're going to go with a big cuspy tooth and buckle to buckle relationships, we tend to find a little bit more adjustments. However, the buckle to buckle on here is really good as well too, because it's already designed and articulated with that workflow. So it works out really well. Printing and milling requirements. Now, this is a big thing. I've had so many questions throughout the last year and a half from friends and colleagues of why their sockets are too big, or why the tooth is moving around in it, or why they have to reduce the basal surface. And it all comes really down to how they're sending it to mill and how they're sending it to print. The 20 micron tooth pocket is the only size you should be using. Don't use anything bigger. Don't change it. Don't adjust it. Don't even think about doing that. Don't place supports into those sockets. That's another big thing. You'd be shocked. And then you allow for your compensation of milling head if you're milling, and your smallest burr if possible. So 20 microns, nothing smaller, nothing bigger, and you'll have it. And do not block out your undercuts, and you should be perfectly good to go. Go ahead, Bonita.
I want to talk about that 20 micron thing. So the reason that it's so precise and needs to be exactly that is because when you're doing the bond, it's actually a liquid to a liquid ratio, and it's like heavy water, like a kind of a viscous water. So it's the exact thickness. This liquid is the exact thickness to fill that 20 micron pocket. So you don't want to mess with it, because this correlates to the microns, and that's just the way it is. So it's proven, and it's been, we've figured out that this is the exact micron. So don't mess with it, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things that those Germans, that they do it so well, but it's engineered perfectly. Don't mess with it. Don't change it. You're only going to throw off a little bit of a bite, or you're going to have a high spot, or you're going to start throwing in a little bit more bond, which is not what you want to be doing, just to try to fill that gap in, or you're going to be adding cold cure. Just big no. Stay away from that. Keep it to where it is. Keep to the specs, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple workflow options. When I first entered the digital world, my immediate reaction was, well, basically, damn, yeah, this is going to elevate our cases. Sorry for lack of a better term. I just saw this is going to be the best workflow for us. And then as soon as I started implementing it into our consults and everything like that, still to this date, probably 150 to 200 cases in the last year and a half, I have not had a patient say no to this workflow. The education is extremely important. Show them why. Take your time with it. And like I said, I even do this with sub-health patients and NHIB patients as well too. And I'm sure a lot of people, well, why would you do that? I also like things that are a lot easier for myself. So I will do things a little bit longer maybe sometimes, but if it's going to make me a lot happier in the long run, I'll do it as well too, right? So if I know that I have 24 tooth your teeth getting extracted on a big bulky arch, and we're reducing a bunch of bone and stuff like that. And it's even on a social service case, then we're going to be doing 3D printed temps. Now, my partner and brother probably thinks I'm silly. I've been told that by him many times, but we all see the benefits of it. It's like, okay, that's a good thing we did that. So with all our immediate temps, I stage out a 12-month healing period. Like most people, 12, 14 months is ideal. Some people do it after 6. I don't. If patients insisting on it, I'll still try to get away from it. So when we do this workflow, we really have to say this is going to be the long term. It's going to be kind of a battle, but it's going to get better after the 2nd month or the 4th month or the 5th month. Your dentures are going to shrink with your gums and your bone. Everything's going to come back together, and you're going to have a better result.
I'm never ready for this photo.
What's that? There we go.
Okay. So when we do our cases like this, we make sure that it's perfectly planned out. Our treatment plans are all geared towards that. 2-3 page document saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what to expect. This is when we're going to do this, and this. Bear with us. It's not going to be fun for the first few months, but having this work plan and workflow now has allowed us to make it a lot easier. The one thing that I do a lot in our office, between me, my brother, and our associate Alexa, is an alveolar reduction. I am a firm believer in this, as we do a lot of implant work in our clinics. We're building that foundation. So we will remove some bone, not a lot. Sometimes it's very minimal, but the dentists that we work with are an amazing group. They send us a lot of work, and it's very easy to go on board with them. Also, if we're going to do a bone reduction guide, we can do it printed as well too, off the design that we've already done. So if you're going to send a guide, the dentist pulls the teeth, guide gets placed over it, or guide gets placed over it, dentist pulls, then reduces, and then stitches up the attached tissue, and then we kind of let everything kind of heal and do its thing. So in the 8 to 10 weeks later, we are placing 4 or 5 implants, or we're placing just 2 locators. We have that perfect platform. So this is where the 3D printed comes into a really, really good workflow, is because as we're manipulating that bone, we're also manipulating the denture to bring it back to that bone to allow that patient to succeed even further. You could put a TC in there, yes, that's fine, but the TC is not going to allow the denture is still going to be big and bulky. When you have a new 3D printed temp, what's happening is you're reducing everything. You're reducing flanges, you're reducing that bulk in the anterior, you're reducing anything that needs to be reduced. You can make it smaller, so the patient already gets that, wow, okay, this feels so much better after the 2 months or 8 weeks or whatever we decide to do. So in my opinion, and with the groups of dentists that we work with, even the 1 to 2 millimeters of bone reduction or shaping, ridge shaping, has made a huge transition in the success of our implant workflow, or our immediate workflow as well too. So you always want to set yourself up and set the patient up for the best opportunity. Obviously, if the bone's not there, you're not going to do it. However, I find that you're going to limit bone spurs. You're going to limit those rough edges around there. You're going to limit the 2 sockets out there. So talk to your dentist, get out there, and say, hey, let's start doing this, or try to do this. And some dentists are great with it. Some dentists are no. For the extra $400 or $500 that a patient has to pay to the dentist, it's going to save yourself. And sometimes it's free, especially if you're doing an implant or a couple implants down the road. You're not going to be paying for that alveol. So the workflow option number 1. So this is how I kind of got started, to tell you the truth. Wasn't too confident on our CAD system. I was like, how do we go about this? So it was brought to my attention, hey, well, how would we do this? So what we did was I'd actually set up the case. So we take our impressions, we take our bite reg, we'd articulate it, set it up, and then what we do is we take those models, split the models. So you have your upper and your lower, and then we would scan the upper wax up with the teeth in there after we just set them in there, scan the model, send that away to get split. So you split the files, and then we do the same thing with the lower. You can split it in Mesh Mixer. I've tried, I've done it. it is a huge pain and a waste of time, in my opinion, for me. So I sent it to Perfect. They split it. It's $25, and this is the absolute perfect way to get started into it. And if you don't have a printer, you can always send out to someone else to print for you too. But if you're not too confident, and trust me, I've done everything possibly wrong when it has come to this. I've like, oh yeah, I've nailed that case. It's gonna look beautiful in the mouth. We've done all the reductions necessary. And I go at the aftercare and look at the insert, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. This is crap. And the first thing I want to do is just rip it out of the patient's mouth and start clean. So for those aesthetic cases that you're really trying to, patient's a little bit picky and you're first starting into CAD design, this could be a really good option for you, because it allows you to kind of really get used to what you know how to do. So you already know how to set teeth, you know how to, the occlusal schemes. Maybe you don't know how to do CAD well. Maybe you're not too familiar with your scanner, and maybe you don't have a printer, or you're not familiar with your printer. This is a fantastic opportunity to get into this, and then slowly build yourself into creating a workflow where it's like, okay, I can scan from an intraoral scanner if you have one, take a bite with the intraoral scanner, design and everything like that. And there are people that are doing that out there for sure. I still tend to like to do take a polyvinyl or a cabbie cream, and then take a bite reg with printed bite reg material or printed registration devices. And then set from there, because then the software will allow you to virtual extract a tooth as well too. So once you have that all scanned in, you don't have to worry about grinding each tooth out with a burr. You can actually go into the softwares, remove that tooth, set your plane, and then you're good to go already. So this is the one that I really enjoyed. Now I tend to get away from this unless it's a really tough case, and I'm like, okay, I'm not too sure. But I still feel that you're getting a little bit of digital, getting a little bit of CAD design, and then you're still creating a printer or a printed denture that gives the patient the best opportunity to succeed as well too. And don't get me wrong, CAD design does not come overnight. 2 years later, I'm still learning lots of stuff. When I have 3Shape, it's going to be a whole new thing as well too. But we're not getting rid of ExoCAD. We're just kind of transitioning a little bit to have both. So it's going to take hours to do it. You're probably not going to have time during your work day. So my best advice to you is, kids are in bed, or if someone or your wife's away or whatever it is, you got time to do it. Do 3 hours with a couple little cases. Learn how the software works. Figure it out. When it comes to ExoCAD, I can always help people too, and kind of get you going in that right direction as well. So then our second option. So this is what I do all the time now, probably 90% of the time, is since we do so much ridge augmentation with our dentists, especially for like our implant work, everything now I try to do CAD. Everything is try to be designed as much as possible, and especially when it comes to the digital part of it. So 90% of us, our clinic, when it comes to like immediate cases, is digital. The 10% is pouring up an impression. That's all. That's the only thing that I do, is pour up an impression, and it's always a fallback or fail safe if I need to go back to that impression, even though I can scan that impression after and print a model out, still can't quite process on a 3D printed model with good success. So 100% if you're an intraoral scanner, then yeah, you can probably get, if you have the right dentition, then you're able to get that bite, the scans, and you're right from start from there. So there's no pour up, there's no one in the back pouring up, there's no waste of materials as far as plaster and whatnot. So you're 100% digital. So what comes out of that mill is the only kind of excess you have, and it's just the residue or the last little bit of that puck. So I'll kind of get into my workflow, and follow me here. If you're having any questions or whatever it is, we can definitely answer them, because it is a lot of information that I'm trying to pile through here. So I do apologize. But
so just quickly, Boyd, we have about 7 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we're almost there. So I'll pause. So when I first I'll take a first impressions. I'll scan those impressions, scan a bite as well. After I pour up the impressions, I'll do a digital or a 3D printed bite reg and take the bite. Once I have that registration, there's no need to articulate. scan right in there. You can scan it right into your desktop scanner or your intraoral scanner, and you're good to go. Once you have that, then everything will make it much easier. Scan, design, don't need to articulate. When I do articulate on the final, it's because I can face bowl, and on exocad, if you have a BioArt articulator, it actually takes that articulator into the scanner and can make it work properly that way. Option 2, so for the first one, I'll do a generic library. For the first initial temp, generic library, doesn't matter which one you use, whatever's easiest for you, you can definitely do, as it can split base and teeth, and you can kind of go from there. No need to spend hours on a wax up or to make it look pretty. You can do that with a burr quite quickly. 3D printed material is not hard as acrylic, so you can actually nail it pretty quickly and good to go from there. And then our final denture is we hone aesthetics and festoon. So what I do is I do initial temp right at the start. Now I usually tell the patient it's going to be loose, or it could be a little bit, not the way we wanted to look. After 6 to 10 weeks, once everything's completely healed, I'll take wash and pressing, and if I need to, I'll take a new bite, and then I'll scan that, redesign within half an hour to 45 minutes. I'll have the brand new dentures for that patient back in the afternoon within 2.5 hours to 3 hours. This is where you get them every single time. This is the point where like you've just had all that reduction, you've had your teeth pulled, and you shrink that denture down, because I don't know how many times we have it. It's like, my dentures are big, they're loose, and they're like that for 12 months. And you put 6 tissue conditioners in, and it doesn't change anything. So this is where I do that. So I'll do initial 6 to 10 weeks, and then I'll do a 6-month one. The 6-month one, sometimes what I'll do, depending on how much bone is taken off or how everything's healing, I will do the VITA Excel or VITA Vigo workflow. I'll actually place the teeth into the printed base, and then at the 12-month mark, I will rebase that. I'll IVO base it. So then you already have the teeth, everything's completely done. You have that workflow, that patient's been in that bite for the last 6 months. You're not changing anything. So when you IVO base that final rebase with the Excel teeth, you're done. It's good to go. Other option is mill, which is another great option. Obviously, we know the fits on milling tend to be not far better, but better for sure. And you can redo that as well too. Mill the base and then pluck in the Vigo teeth. Duplication process. Scan your wash impression. So you got your wash there with a little bit of pala or whatever material you use. This was a denture that was from somewhere else. Patient was getting all in 5. In the meantime, we needed to have something of a temp in there for her. So what we did is we just took a wash impression, scanned it, split the file, and then created 2 bases, or created a base and some teeth here. And then what you can always do is like a light GC optic glaze clear, UV on the facial lingual surfaces. The resins can still be porous, right? So we really want to kind of change that and fix that, so we don't want anything getting in there, because with resins it can get quite porous, and with that, what happens is you get dirty, grimy teeth in there. For the base and teeth or monolithic, I always do a base and teeth right off the start. Work with your dentist and let them know that you're doing this, because I made the mistake once of just sending a base and teeth to a dentist that I didn't really work with too often. And he came back and called me and said, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, it's a 3D printed temp." Once I explained to him, he was quite impressed. However, he was like, "Yeah, it just wasn't something I'm used to seeing." So it is a little bit of a different type of scenario here, and it's good to go that way, to kind of give the dentist and the patient a little bit of an opportunity to say, "Hey, this is kind of what the denture will look like." Obviously, it's not going to, but it will happen for sure. Patient is expecting to see that pink and white, as far as I'm concerned. We're not here to give them monolithics. I will do a monolithic if the patient's not showing like a big gummy smile, but I won't do it off the start. I'll do it at the second one, or I'll do it at the final or the third one, just in case. And to tell you the truth, it doesn't really look that good unless you're gonna just kind of layer it with a little bit of pink resin, a little pink Dreve or Detax interproximal. So then this way it gives you a little bit of a, kind of somewhat of not just one big block of teeth. You can kind of split it up and make it look like an actual denture a little bit. So just make sure that that works for you as well too. So base, obviously your teeth again, the monolithics on the left here, right, and then the base trying on that. So that's a detax material. That's a detax tooth, and it's a detax resin. Really nice resin, really strong resin, and I just love that how it works so well. Sorry guys, I'm kind of going through this a little bit quick here, but hopefully you guys are catching up. The Sega Max wasn't even a thought for us. It was purely straight. This was an open source printer. The support is fantastic in Canada. It is an absolute workhorse, and it just works amazing for us. So when you're going to print something, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours really for 4 or 5 bases, and it works fantastic. Most resins are approved, Health Canada approved, since about September of last year, 2019. So about a year and a half of us doing this workflow, we've used Denta, Detax, you name it, we've used it. Everything to possibly, we've tried Denta model, everything. There's still stuff sitting in our closet for 2 years ago that I've used once and put it in patient's mouth and it snapped. Just to kind of see how we're doing it. Print all your trays, your bases, your try-ins. We do flippers on our Sega. There's just a wide range of things. I actually just the other day, funny stuff, my niece just turned 1. So I took impressions of her hand and feet about a year ago. She's 2 weeks old. And I scanned them and 3D printed them in a little Dreve and gave that to her as a gift. So you can do that as well too. It's quite interesting how that works. My brothers use it for kitchen appliance for once too. He did a little part, printed it off, and it is perfect. So if I was to go any printer, it'd be the Sega Max. I think the next one would be the Pro 4K, would be the big guy that we do, just because that thing is an absolute monster. It's a beast, and it looks fantastic. But if you're starting out, this is Sega with the auto flash, you can't go wrong whatsoever. And with all those resins too, it's great. So nesting, very important. Nest vertically, and then when I do all my bases and stuff like that, it's at 50 microns. A lot of people do 100. I do 50 microns for teeth and base. If I'm in a rush, I'll do 100. This way I get the most accurate print. And vertically, even though it takes longer, I've tried horizontally, I've tried everything, and it does work, but there's always sometimes I can get a little bit of a pocket fill or something like that, and it kind of causes a huge issue. One big thing, do not place any supports in sockets at all. You're just going to set yourself up for failure. This is a big thing, and it's a question. The very first thing I see when I'm troubleshooting for someone, they go, my teeth won't fit in my base, and I go, so let me show me your printer and how he's nested it, and there's 20 supports in that printer. So avoid that, and you'll get great results as well too. So vertical placement, even on my try-ins, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll put them on the teeth too because the supports are so small. It's a quick little polish off, and you're good to go from there as well too. Finishing. So finishing, I always print on the occlusal surface of the teeth. This way, it's an easy placement into the sockets. There's no interference. There's nothing to go. So for an interim, this is what I would do. Right at the start, I just place it like that. Nice, easy coat of resin. Whatever base resin you decided to use, coat that over the top the final denture here. And what will happen is you have that nice shine. So you don't even have to take it to a high shine or anything like that. It'll just layer it on nice and thinly with the resin to elute it, and with a plastic band wrapped around it. Auto flash for 5,000, and you'll have the best success there. And then I put a little GC OptiClear on there. You don't have to do that. It's probably excessive to tell you the truth. But when I'm presenting to the dentist, I want to make sure, you know, this is not our final denture, but we still want to make sure that it still looks good and that the patient's still fully aware that, hey, you know, this looks pretty good for now. We know it's an interim. We know we can change the designs in the final and go from there. So after many years and many dollars spent, I've done everything you could possibly do wrong when it comes to trying to figure things out. I've spent, or I shouldn't say we've spent thousands of dollars trying, and stuff that's still sitting there, just trying to figure out what works for us. Now with this workflow, we know what works for us. Dreve or Dreve, however you want to say it, hands down, probably my favorite base resin. It's strong. It looks really good. It's got a nice translucency, cures really well. And to tell you the truth, it actually, when it prints, it doesn't even smell that bad. So it kind of smells like a little strawberry sometimes, I feel like. Maybe that's just me. But the auto flash, don't even think about getting an Sega without an auto flash. You need it. There's no question about it. You need it. Otherwise, you'll have dentures break on you all the time. Auto flash is a nitrogen-based curing unit, so that will work really, really well too. Free print detax, and also solid base too. I've used this. I use this a lot as well too. A lot for flippers, a lot for my bases as well too. A lot for even some things like custom trays. You can use it if you're low on like some Opti print or something like that. Same thing, 5,000 flashes, and you're good to go. Denka I've used, and I've used it a lot. I will not use it anymore. This is the only resin between these three that I talk about that I've had break on me numerous amounts of times. I don't know why. And I know a lot of people still use it and have great success. For some reason, this is the one that I tend to have broke. Maybe I wasn't curing it properly. Maybe I was having some issues. I still use Denka teeth resins, and I use detax teeth resin as well too. The detax is very, very strong. I'd recommend that as well too. To each their own, really. If you're going to cheap out on a resin, you're going to get a cheap product. It's as simple as that. I've used like $200 bottles, and you just drop it 6 inches and it breaks. So you might have to spend a little bit of money, but at least you're going to be knowing that patient's not going to snap that denture. So this is a funny one. This is after 2 months. So this is not the pretty things that you see about printing. This is why printing still is in its infancy. It's wear. It's simple as that. You got zirconia crowns and a resin tooth, even if it's cured properly, you're gonna blow through it. I had a patient just the other day. She's been in her upper and lower temps for 3 weeks. She's a huge, not Scotch mints, but those other type of mints that you get in the little green bag. She eats about 50 of those a day, and there's literally a hole almost through her denture, and it's a pretty thick denture already. So already knowing going into the final that we're gonna have to do kind of a NAMIC type denture or a composite denture, not denture, but base or Vigo. But she'll still probably blow through those pretty quickly too. So same thing with this one. We're like, he came back. We're gonna like, oh, okay, we'll just take a quick impression. This one has a complete redesign. Came in, wash impression, redesigned. I already have his lower in exocad, so it's quick, easy to manipulate the bite back together. And then 30 minutes it's done, and then in the afternoon he's got it fit. You're not processing again. You're not putting a technician on it again. You're not spending $50 to $75 to do materials possibly. You're spending $10 on a resin and $7 for a base, or $10 for a base and $7 for teeth. So this is where it comes down to being, what's profitable for you and what's the easiest workflow.
Sure.
And then this backup dentures are great too. As you can see, the top one's the printed one. It's perfect for a backup. We do a lot of these backup dentures now. Patients love it, especially in holidays. This time of year is probably the best. Even though we can't travel, I still have patients for some reason heading down to Mexico and those places, and they're ordering these like crazy as well too, just in case. And very, very inexpensive for the patient and for you, and good for them to travel with. And I touched base on this earlier. All in X solutions, perfect for conversions. You do it all day long. A little bit of VITA, the VITA VM, on a conversion case for all in X, whatever it may be, and you're off to the races. You're good to go. It's a very easy pickup. There's no issues whatsoever. A little bit of composite to make look good, and 3 months or 2 months you can put another one in. 3 months you put another one in, or you can wait till the final and then make your final with bar. Now I've had the fortunate experience to be able to work with VITA, and I've had some products sent to me by Bonita. So it's kind of test for her. I love this base. This VITA base is amazing. The color is beautiful. There's a lot out there, but this one is really, really nice. The feedback from the patients, from Britton and Alexa, my colleagues, is one of the nicer ones for sure.
So VITA does reach out to the dental community and the denturists, just like Boyd said. We get feedback from them and we send the material to try and give us feedback, what they liked about it and of course what they didn't like about it. And that's how we perfect our product. So thanks to Boyd, he gave us feedback on the bionic base. Still waiting to have it available in Canada, but maybe someday, because it is a beautiful base color.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's one of the nicest ones I've seen. And I've shown a few people that, and they're quite impressed with it too. So I'm hoping we'll have it soon, especially for the people that are milling. That it'll be a great opportunity. Same thing, 20 micron sizes. You're going to sandblast the finish. So the sockets, you're going to sandblast with aluminum oxide. This is very, very important. That you need that bond. So don't skip that. Just do it. Sandblast each pocket. Clean it with boiling water. Put it in dehydrator. And then let it air dry after. Once you have that, then this is when we go into the 1-in-1 mix. Now this is like a water paste. So what I do, I can actually get three arches out of this. They say 1 arch, but I can actually get 3 arches out of this. So what you can do is you can actually sandblast, place in the posteriors first, set each one, hold it for 1 to 5 seconds, do that, and then keep going around in sections. Then do your anterior, then do the following quadrant as well. Don't put it all in there because it will set up on you. It doesn't seem like it's going to, but it will. So you want to make sure that you place it in there liberally, hold it in there, hold it down, move on to the next one. And then from there, what we do, you wipe away the excess material, and then you'll place it in a pressure pot for 30 minutes. And I do boiling water. It says a certain temperature. I'm sure Bonita has it. I do boiling water, and I've never had an issue. Knock on wood, I haven't had a tooth pop out yet. For our test purposes anyways, because we're just trying to make sure. And I've wrenched on these with pliers to try to pop teeth out, and I still haven't done that yet. So, and then what I do is I remove, I'll polish the dentures, and then I'll do a quick high shine. Once again, you can GC or occlusize the clear facial lingual surfaces of it, and voila. Looks natural, looks good. Patients love it. The occlusal scheme is amazing. Less adjustments. It's just everything's set up for you, right? This is the best part of it. It's set up. It's literally like you can't set a better posterior tooth as far as I'm concerned. And when it's in a digital solution, they've spent so many hours, and this is the most ideal relation. So why wouldn't you do it, right? So, and it proofs in the pudding. And this is from Bonita. So this was a year ago. Obviously, we've been testing for them for a little bit now, and I can say the products, I stand by them. I haven't waxed or done a wax base try-in. I know some people have. Yeah. Each their own, I guess, but I wouldn't. But just do a try-in with printer. And then
yeah.
So I kind of blew through that pretty quickly. Like I said, it's hard to get through all the workflows, properly without kind of speeding things up. So if anyone has any questions, they can definitely ask me. They can email me. They can call me. I'm open to suggestions on other people's workflows, because we're all here to learn. So I think the main thing is like, this is so new, being a year, and we need to learn from each other. So just as a review, we just kind of want to say, we want to do a temp at every 2-6 or initial, then 2-6, and then a final for the best results. You really want to educate your patients on the fact that, hey, we are going to get a better result. We're going to get higher patient acceptance. You're not going to have the patient coming in every 20 minutes or every 2 days for an adjustment or TC every month, because they know you've educated them. They know that everything's coming down to, okay, I have to wait here. Everything's going to be good. And every time you give them that next print temp, what happens is you get that big smile and say, oh, this is so much better. You can do that with a TC, but they're still going to be big and bulky. And if you want to change it, the aesthetics on it, it's going to take you a day or two. With this, it's going to take you 20 to 30 minutes. So once again, alleviating chair time and allowing you to get back or giving you more chair time with other patients, and alleviating a little bit of stress off your lab. They don't want to be remaking a case when they have 10 relines and how many dentures to assemble at the end of the day. That's the last thing they want to do. So you want to make it easy for everybody. And yeah, that's that. I think, what's it, 45 minutes there, Bonita? Oh, geez.
A little bit more, but that's okay. We had a lot of interest. So Boyd, if I can just ask you to type in however you like people to contact you, your cell phone, text, email, or whatever, just in the chat box, so everyone has that information if they want to reach out to you.
Perfect. Yeah.
And yeah, so we only had one question, so I think that you did a very good job on explaining your workflow and all of that, and you answered the question while you went through it, so it was just fine. But you know what, just want to say thanks again, Boyd, for being generous with your sharing and what you've learned, and helping everyone else get forward in digital a lot faster without people like you in the industry sharing and being generous with the education. And all of the failures you've had have led you to the success that you're having today. So that's really nice to see you. But I know you're a mentor for many of the denturists out there. So just grateful to have you on the show. Like I said, everyone, this is a lot of thank yous are coming up on the chat box. And this is the last episode of Keeping It Real. And like Boyd was sharing things that he liked and things that he didn't like. So we keep it real here, and it's, voices from the bench. That's sort of how we want it to go. So with that, I have everyone saying thank you to you, Boyd. So that's wonderful.
Thanks, everybody. It's my pleasure. And hopefully everyone has a safe and great weekend. And I'll leave the information here for you at the bottom.
Sure.
And then if anyone needs to get a hold of me, feel free, and we'll be able to answer some of those questions for you.
Yeah.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, and yes, stay safe. Well, stay safe, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you next year.